Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another amazing episode of the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. I am your host, that ocean crossing, straight up Boston, flight catching, shot glass snatching, always positive, life is great, repping 592, living in the 718, no cap, straight facts, the worldwide starboy, Remy Blue. And our special guest today is a man who is a 10-year veteran or 10 plus year veteran in the game. Yes, you could see all his battles on YouTube. The man's a hard worker, one of the hardest workers in the ring from North Carolina. He is the Radical City King, the boy wonder, Robyn Golphin. How you doing today, sir?
How you doing? How you doing, Remy?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Just here, it's Friday evening. Um, and I'm just here, relaxing and whatnot, enjoying the summer and everything. How's everything? You're in North Carolina, right?
Yes, I'm in North Carolina.
How's everything over there?
Oh, hot. It's hot.
Yeah, same over here, man. It's all over. Trust me.
Mm.
I I got it over here in New York too. But
So
yeah,
they say I think it's like 70 degrees outside with a humidity of almost 90. So I mean
yeah.
the we got rain a few days ago, so that helped a lot. But other than that, it's pretty good. It's pretty good here in North Carolina.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, man. So I just gotta say, man, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to have you on our show. Unfortunately, my two other guests, Kathy Knight and Rob Bass, couldn't be here. Kathy, Rob, we're wishing y'all all the best. Hope y'all are doing good out there. I don't want to put his business out there on the street, but it's actually he actually put it on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. Of course, Rob Bass. He had some, he was in the hospital.
Mm.
Uh, Nothing crazy, but just had to get some stuff done. So Rob, get well soon, bro. We miss you on here, and hope to have you back soon. But Robyn, it's great to have you finally on the show. You've been on our radar for a hot minute, and yeah, man. So tell us, man. How did you become a wrestling fan? What was the main event or pay per view that you saw, or who was
Uh,
that relative that you saw watching wrestling and that made
well,
you curious as to what they were watching?
so I'm from I'm originally from San Antonio, so growing up as a little kid, my parents would take me to local shows and things like that. Never would been able and stuff like that. So, but as I got older, I moved overseas. My grandmother, my mom's mom, my grandmother, she would send me these VHS tapes,
Hmm.
uh, TV shows or these events and stuff that she would record for me so I could watch them as a kid. Because growing up around the late '80s, early '90s, living in Germany, no cable. Yeah, the stuff
Oh,
was expensive. So one of my very first experience was the '89 Royal Rumble.
okay.
It was the first time. It was like one of the first times I actually sat down and watched a lot of wrestling, other than the little things that my parents would take me to when I was a kid. When I was a little kid in Texas.
Okay.
So so fast track a couple of years. I moved from Tennessee to North Carolina in '95. So I spent a lot of time around my grandmother, and every Monday night it was her watching Monday Night Raw and WCW Nitro. And so I got so growing up with around my grandmother, I got heavy into watching wrestling, and it wasn't until I seen Halloween Havoc 90, I forget what year it is, 95. Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero
Okay.
is is the is the match that made me a big wrestling fan.
Oh, okay.
And then after watching that match, anything I could see Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko in, I was a fan of. Those are like my two number ones of my top five of professional wrestlers of all time. Is usually Malenko, then Guerrero, but it was that match that made me a wrestling fan. And then anytime I could just watch any kind of wrestling, I was hooked. Um, so especially in the early 2000s, once I got into high school, um, and I was exposed to independent wrestling, things like Ring of Honor and stuff like that, and wrestling from Japan. I was just there's so much wrestling. I said to myself, there's so much wrestling that I just not here in the states. So I became a big fan of everything that I could watch. Anything I could get my hands on, I could watch it. I was a fan of.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah. Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. I think that was. I think that may have been. I think that was Halloween Havoc 1996. And I
Okay,
think
because
that was
yeah, I
the
can
year they
remember.
wore the iconic purple
Yes,
gear with the question marks around it.
yes.
Yeah, that was a very good match. I remember that. That was a classic.
Mhm.
Eddie and Ray always did great work together though. Like they were low key one of the seeing them in the ring against each other. That was one of the best things. You know, in hindsight, that was one of the best match rivalries I ever saw. You know, good friends, even better rivals, and
Um,
that's
Cruiserweight, to me, the whole. I've always been a fan. I've been like, 'cause I'm a big fan of. I've been a fan of wrestling, but it's like once I saw the cruiserweights, I'm like, oh wow, these dudes are small, but they have some of the most exciting matches that I've seen
oh yeah.
in my life. Really, like, mm, um, one of my favorite feuds in WCW was Jericho and Malenko.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite feuds in WCW.
Yeah, Jericho and Malenko. I remember the man. Jericho was whew, Jericho and Malenko. That was a great feud as well too. Dean Malenko was one of the guys that to me he was underrated. I think he should have gone further. Like, and it's just sad that at the time when he was coming up, you had like Hulk Hogan and all the guys on top.
Yeah.
Like he should have gotten at least like one like a title shot or two against those guys because that guy was a technical. You know, he was a technical master. Like the guy was one of those guys that you know you enjoyed watching and so on.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but that cruiserweight division though, yeah, I'll say this: there will never be another cruiserweight division like that in North America. I'm sorry. Like I know Vince McMahon tried this thing with 205, but it just didn't feel the same with you know just didn't feel the same when it came to the cruiserweights of the late 90s, early 2000s. And the reason why I say in American companies because Japan is doing it big. Japan has their junior heavyweight division,
Hmm.
and those men like Zack Sabre Jr., uh, uh, Yo and Sho from Roppongi 3K. Well, they're no longer together. And you
Hmm.
got who's the other? Who's the other one? The one that does Booker T's Spinneroonie. He's in
Hmm.
Suzuki Gun. Desperado.
Oh yeah, El Desperado. She got El Desperado. You can't forget. Well, you can't forget Kushida. Uh, can't forget the current champion, Tachi Ishimori,
You
the
know what?
Bone Soldier.
You know what I would like. Speaking of Kushida, I would like to see Kushida, and like I said, I tend to play long term, not long term. Armchair Booker. I
Hmm.
would love to see Kushida and the Guns make a run for this for that 6 man title.
That would be that. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that, especially with Shelly's Shelly being tag partners with both of them.
Yeah,
The
but here's a
style, the styles of the tag teams are. so much similar, so similar to each other.
But here's the kicker too. Saban once teamed with Kushida too as well.
Oh, he
He
did.
was, it was I think it was the junior heavyweight tag team tournament that they had in New Japan. They
Hmm.
teamed together and they worked so well that they ended up actually coming in second in that tournament, I think.
Hmm.
So they have a bit of experience teaming together too. So it'll be nice and interesting to see how they gel as a 3-man unit
Yeah,
going
it
for those
does. Let's see, and that shoes. Well, I credit now. We want to get into that with those three names with two of those names in particular. When I started my wrestling career, I those were the guys that Shelley says. Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley were two names that I would watch a lot to pattern my style of wrestling towards.
Yeah.
As I got in, as like I said earlier, once the 2000s rolled around, I got into wrestling. I started training in wrestling after I graduated high school. I had just turned just turned 18, and the week after that, I started training to be a pro wrestler.
Oh, that's cool. That-
And I always patterned my style of wrestling around those two in particular to people.
That's awesome. So speaking of wrestling, how did your transition go from wrestling fan to now professional wrestler? How did you end up going to wrestling school? And,
Um,
you
so
know, all that.
um, hold on one second. Hold on. Okay, hold on, Michael. Okay, sorry about that.
It's,
That's my 5-year-old.
it's okay, man. Family first, man. I always say that.
But how that happened was I like I said I got heavy into watching Ring of Honor. Like Ring of Honor was the thing for me once WWF bought WCW. I would watch WWF or WWE. I would watch it, but I didn't. There was a lot I didn't get that I liked from they had the cruiserweights in WWE, WWF, WWE at that time on SmackDown and stuff like that. Yeah, that was good and all, but I think it was a sense of there not being another company and there not being another not being I don't say competition, but they're not. It was so easy to watch because you could go from watching WWF and then there's more. You want to watch more wrestling? There's WCW and stuff like that. It was so much easier to, I guess, be a wrestling fan regardless of whatever company you watch. Because I watched all of it. I watched both. I was flipping from channel to channel watching WWF and WCW. I didn't care about ratings as long as I got to watch professional wrestling. I was a fan. So, but I got into that, and I was getting ready to graduate high school, and me and my best friend, who is my current tag team partner. Um,
Is that Terrell?
yeah, well, yeah, Tyrell Lee. Yeah, that um, he's we had constantly said to each other that we said to each other that we wanted to be professional. We were always talking about how much we wanted to be professional wrestlers, trying to figure out where we can get trained at. So we're just trying to figure this out. We found this one place in on the coast near in Havelock. We were gonna go there, but that from where we live at in North Carolina, that's a 2.5 hour drive every Sunday,
Okay.
and then we would plus. uh, almost having to spend $300-400 in training.
Woo.
So we were trying to weigh our options. So mm, the girl I was dating at the time knew I wanted to be a professional wrestler. She just knew it was like my biggest dream. So she was out one day shopping or something, and she so happened to pick up a flyer for this local wrestling show at the YMCA. It was on a Saturday night, and she was like, she gives it to me. I was like, "Have you seen this?" I was like, "No, this is gonna be in town." She was like, "Yeah." So we wind up going, and so we were just watching the show and stuff like that. And I was like, "Wow, I kind of got to try to get into this." She was like, "Well," she said, "Well, it says on," and she brought it to me again. She says, "Well, it says on the flyer you got to just ask for Donnie Steam to ask for Kid Cass, which was my trainer, the guy who trained me. His name was Kid Cass, Donnie Steamboat. He did a cut uh some enhancement work and stuff for the WWE here and there.
Mhm.
Really good dude. Passed away a few years ago, but real good dude. I credit him for teaching me everything that I know. So we talked. He told me where we were training at, which was only 30 minutes away, about 30, 40 minutes away from where I live at in North Carolina. And training was, just let's say it wasn't expensive. And like I said, I credit him for everything because he made sure to teach everybody that he was training the psychology of professional wrestling, the best way to get emotions out of people.
Okay.
So, um, and that's how I got started. It's just like I seen the flyer, I was like, okay, cool. Uh, Not knowing there's no athletic commission in the state of North Carolina. I could have been training when I was 17, but I waited till I turned 18, and then me and my friends started training, and then we've been doing it ever since. Uh, it's it's no different than being an actual wrestling fan. I mean, as a professional wrestler, I'm still a big fan of pro wrestling, but I see it differently than everybody else, if I can say that.
Yeah, of course.
So that's the big thing. I can watch professional wrestling, but I I still get my fan pops from seeing certain things like that. But pro wrestling can be very predictable these days. Like, um, I'll give you a prime example. Me and my tag partner were watching the Royal Rumble this year, and it was so funny. Uh, the Women's Rumble was happening, and we were just sitting there watching it and stuff like. We were just trying to figure out who's. We're in our minds. We're trying to figure out who's gonna win.
Give me a second. I got somebody at my door. Give me a second.
All right, no problem.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had some visitors there. Well, not visitors, but I let somebody in. Yeah. So you were saying that?
So yeah, so we were just watching the Rumble. We were watching the Rumble, and the women's Rumble was the first one, and we're just like we're just
Give me a second.
throwing
Hold
out.
on. Hold on. You said, yeah. All right. Yeah. You were saying?
Yeah, so we were just watching the women's Rumble, and we're
Mhm.
just throwing our predictions out who's gonna win. Like, and the fun. So I forget what number when she came out, but when Ronda Rousey came out, when that song hit, I was like, well, there's your Royal. I threw every pick. I threw out every other pick I had for when the women's Royal Rumble. I said, well, there's your winner for the women's Royal Rumble right there. As soon as that music hit, I was like, well, there's your winner for the Royal Rumble. And so then the men's Rumble is going on, and we're trying to figure out who's going to win. Who win. And my tag partner just says, it'd be funny if Brock Lesnar comes up the Royal Rumble. And I was like, wait, wait. You know, that's probably what's going to happen. You got to think Roman Reigns just screwed him out of the WWE Championship. He's
Yeah.
gonna want his revenge one way or another. And when that number 30 hit and Lesnar came out, I was like, well, there it goes. Brock Lesnar's winning the Royal Rumble for the second time. And
Yeah.
it's just like certain things like that is very predictable. Because what was like one, of course, nobody really knew that. I don't think no real wrestling fan knew that Ronda was going to be there. But as soon as you, but as soon as her music hit, you should have figured, oh wow, she's going to win.
Right.
Like,
So
but
honestly, I always say with bookings like that, I'm at a point where I'm like with WWE, I'm just like do whatever. I I'm over the days of like complaining, oh, this again, and because Vince is gonna do what Vince wants to, regardless of whatever we say,
mhm.
and his family, they're gonna do whatever they want to do for that, what they think is best. And I always told, I remember I had one person that was saying, I think it was either New Japan or Impact or one of them. They had a pay per view on, and they were like, WWE should be more like that. I'm like, no, WWE doesn't need to be more like them. WWE needs to find what works for them, and what we as the fans need to decide is if we're either going to accept if we're either going to keep watching, or if we're going to just turn the channel and turn our attention to somewhere else and take our money with us as well too.
Yeah, then that's kind of how I think about it. It's like either you. I was having a conversation with my dad the other night about I think it was a movie or a TV show. Yeah,
Mm.
it was a TV show. I'm a nerd. I'm a big comic book fan.
Okay.
I watch anything Marvel, anything DC. And I think we were talking about the season finale of Miss Marvel,
Okay.
and we were talking about it's just conversation about people complaining about certain things and my thing, and it's just like you're not gonna make everybody happy. You're not, but you can complain people can complain as much as they want, but again, it's up to those people who run those companies, Vince McMahon, Disney, and all that stuff that owns Marvel. It's up to those people what they're gonna do. I mean, in the
Right.
sense of what me and my dad were talking about, the Miss Marvel is a 6 episode episode season, but it follows the comic books to a perfect point in some instance. And then there's some things that they have to change because of television and stuff like that. Okay, granted, you can't do a lot. and stuff like that. But for the most part, Miss Marvel followed the source material. But
Mm,
you still have people complaining about it. Okay, you can complain. They're not going. There's nothing they can do to change it other than probably try to do better the next season. In a sense, with pro wrestling, any pro wrestling, WWE, AEW, in any major independent or any independent promotion at all,
yeah,
you can know what fans want and try to give them that, but either wrestling fans are going, and I'm guilty for it sometimes. You give us too much of what we want, we'll may complain about it. You give us too little or not enough of what we want, we're gonna complain. So either way, I mean, all I can really say on that is find wrestling fans just need to find what makes them happy.
right,
Find 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 what really makes you happy. Like if you don't like watching WWE, watch AEW. If you don't like watching AEW, watch WWE. If you don't like watching either one of them, watch find any of the independent show promotions in your town over the internet. There's so many places you can watch pro wrestling at. Just find something in pro wrestling that makes you happy as a wrestling fan. So
right.
like
So yeah, hold on, give me a second. Yeah, uh, and you're definitely right about that. You're definitely right about um, you know, fans complaining and so on. And I always said that too. Like, if you don't like any something, don't watch it.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with taking a break. I've been a fan for 32 years, and I took a break like twice. I was like, I need a break from this. I need to step away. I remember it was 2010, and I was just reading the whatever the dirt sheets were saying or whatever whatever like the results were. I would just
Mhm.
and eventually I got back into it, and I took another break. It was 2018 around Kofi Mania, but this one was a short break this time.
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, let me get back in. Kofi Mania looks promising, and I got a black guy. We got a black guy winning WWE Championship finally. Since The Rock. Yes, The
Mhm.
Rock does count. I don't care what people say. He's his father is black, so yeah, we've had one since. Yeah, we haven't had one since The Rock. That was 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna tune in now and see how it's going. And yeah, and I tell people, if you need to take a break, take a break. Sometimes it can get repetitive. Sometimes it can get stale. What do you?
Yeah,
It's
and that's
expected from a long running episodic show. It's expected.
yeah, and that's me, and that's how I am about it. It's like I've had to take breaks from watching wrestling here and there, especially the fact that I am in professional wrestling myself. I have to take breaks here and there. This is like I can't. I've been told by friends, family, and ex girlfriends that I'm very I am obsessed with professional wrestling, and I wouldn't call it an obsession. It's more me. I watch a lot of wrestling to try to get better at what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I tend to watch a lot of pro wrestling. But I go back and watch a lot of my favorite. Thing is, I can watch a lot of wrestling that's out now, but I catch myself going back watching old stuff. Like I was just watching Lance Storm versus Jerry Lynn from an ECW television taping just
Oh,
a, just about 10 20 minutes ago before we got on the air. And I like I said I it's just me trying to go back and it's just me getting back trying to get better. I watch a lot of my favorites to see what I could possibly do in the ring today that would mm, stand out but make people will catch people's eye. Cause I'm a big on storytelling.
Mm.
I'm not a big talker, but I like to allow everything that I do in the ring to try to tell a story.
That's cool.
Um, so,
So
uh,
so now now that you're a professional wrestler,
mhm.
how did you and your tag team part? What's the name? What was the name of your tag team again? I forgot what it was. I saw it.
We're, the we our original the name that we used when we first started uh teaming together was Overdrive, and
Team
then
Overdrive. I remember that.
yeah, that was so, and then over the years, over the last since 2017.
Right,
That's
City
when,
King. Right.
yeah, it was the Riot City Kings then, but now we go under the Radical City Kings,
Okay. Cool.
or RCK for short.
So how did y'all? So I guess it would be safe to say it wasn't a matter how y'all come together. It was just a matter of two best friends decided to get into sport together
Hmm.
and started from the bottom, and now they're here. Pretty much, right? As Drake would
Yeah,
say.
you can say that. Yeah, because the uh Tyrell is my closest friend. We've been friends since I moved to North Carolina, and so that's been about almost 30 years.
Okay. Wow.
30 years. We're both. Funny story is most people believe we're family.
Right.
So, but because we both the way we treat each other, we're just like bro, like so we're just like brothers. Um, we're both born the same month, same year, just
Mhm.
3 weeks apart from each other. Um, I'm a Sagittarius. He's a Capricorn. That's how I tell the difference and stuff like that. But what we both grew up like loving and watching professional wrestling and stuff like that, and and it's like I said, my first day of training was his first day of training. And like we've wrestled so much together. We both had to take breaks because we both have kids. We and stuff like that. But we nowadays now this day and age, well now this time in age we're looking to we're looking to try to get the most out of out of professional wrestling. So that way we can show our kids and pretty much give our kids something to look up to us for. Uh, Now we've had our issues here and there where we've broken up, we got back together and stuff like that. But I mean, I can't really see myself being in a tag team with anybody else
That's
except for maybe two other people. But he's my go-to. That's my go-to guy. That's my right hand man. If I gotta call him for something, if I gotta call him and talk to him about something, he'll pick up the phone. He'll be right over stuff like that. Um, like, it's just
cool.
it's hard to explain that. It's kind of hard to explain sometimes. It's like I said, other than the fact that he's my brother,
Okay.
I would do anything for him. He would do anything for me. Um, we both have we both have the same similar mindsets when it comes to professional wrestling. Um, Probably one of the only people that I can get in a ring with and not have to talk about much, and we
Oh.
could just work our tails off.
So
Um,
have you guys ever gotten to like wrestle outside of North Carolina? I know you guys are based in North Carolina, but have you ever gotten to wrestle like outside of North Carolina, like maybe South Carolina,
But
Georgia?
yes, yeah, we wrestled a couple in South Carolina, Georgia. Uh, he's wrestled in in Virginia with West Virginia, I believe. I've I lived in Florida for about a year and a half, so I wrestled in Florida, the Florida, Alabama areas and stuff like that. I've get that one. Um, I've had uh, that time in my time in Florida was real. Get your soda. My time in Florida was real good. It was I was able to meet some some of my heroes, some people that I thought I was never going to be able to meet. Uh, because I never knew they lived that close to Florida. Um, I was able to meet Percy Pringle
Oh
before
wow!
he. Yeah, I never knew the man lived. Why did you point it out? Hold on one second.
Sorry.
Why go sit down, man? I was able to meet Percy Pringle before he passed away. One of the nicest men in the world. How I could tell somebody that you're cool with somebody if a person can't make jokes about you or talk your jokes about you and both of y'all laugh about them, they're not a real good person to you. They're not a friend to you. I've learned that over the years. If you can't make a joke with this person, and they can't make a joke to you, but to you, then y'all not real cool friends. And so every time I would see Percy, Percy would make these jokes, and it was always about my height. It's always about my height because I was about the same height as Percy Pringles. He was always calling me short. He's like, "You're probably one of the shortest black people I've ever seen." I was like, well, yeah, my dad's only 5'6". My mom's 4'11". So yeah, I got stuck in the middle right there. So it was always a funny thing. Uh, I was able to meet Scott Armstrong, Bullet Bob, the Road Dogg. Never like him being from Pensacola, like he's from Pensacola. I was like, I didn't like. Oh, I was like, okay, they're from Pensacola. Didn't actually think the family still lived in Pensacola, Florida. Didn't think of that. I was like, wow. Mm. So I was able to be around them and work and learn and talk to Road Dogg a lot. He was a real cool dude. Um, I forget other places that my tag partner's been. Um, mm, think he's been. I think he's been to Georgia a few times too by himself, other than with me. Because there was a point at the time when I lived in Florida, he was in here and he was running in another tag team with somebody, and they were going back and forth to Georgia, Virginia, and stuff like that. You would have to talk to him, and he could tell you a lot more about a lot of the other places that he's been.
Yeah,
Like I,
we'll try to get him on here eventually, and then maybe somewhere down the line we'll get both y'all on. But I must say that the fact that because I hear this story so many times, like two best friends, yeah, we're gonna be pro wrestlers, and then for some reason one friend ends up like just saying, something, it was all just, I guess you could say, a pipe dream, if that's a thing,
mhm.
and
Well,
they go back to normal life.
with us, I'm sorry. Well, with us, with that being said, like I'm not even like we were determined. It's like we were so into pro wrestling, so really we were determined to find a. We were so determined to try to find a way, no matter what, to get into pro wrestling. It's like because we wanted because it was. I think it was the fact that we didn't really see a lot of black wrestlers. We saw some like that. Like one of the biggest black tag teams we seen was Harlem Heat.
Okay.
I mean, I did not watch wrestling around the time of the Nation of Domination. I started watching. I started getting heavy into WWE right around, like I said, like around '95, right around the time Stone Cold Steve Austin became WWE champion,
Mhm.
WWF champion. I mean, and right around the corporation and the Ministry of Darkness. That's when I started really watching WWF a lot, and
Okay.
and then WCW when I think I would watch WCW all for cruiserweight stuff, but then I got real heavy into WCW around the New Blood Millionaire Club feud. That
Those are the dying days.
yeah, I was in the I started watching. I watched more WCW during the dying days just because they were. That's because for some reason my favorite thing about about that whole thing, and I don't think a lot of people talk about it because I don't think a lot of people care for it, was the Misfits in action, the natural born thrillers, and the filthy animals. More filthy animals than anything. I was a huge fan of the filthy animals. Just just hearing Conan cut a promo was one of my favorite things about that whole era of WCW. Because
Mm.
ha, he's talking like somebody I know on the street. It's funny to see that. It's entertaining to see that on TV.
Yeah.
Then the guy's one of the then he's probably one of the best luchador wrestlers in the world.
Oh yeah.
So like I was a big fan of Three Live Crew. The three of them was like that trio was about like the one of the most entertaining things in TNA when they actually got television.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Three Life Crew was great. Didn't really care for when they became the Four Life Crew when they added Billy Gunn. I was like,
well, see, I was able to meet Billy Gunn on a show I worked in Florida. One of the nicest dudes in the world. One of the biggest dudes I've ever seen in my life. And this coming from a guy who's 5'5". Like he's tall. I just like he's tall, but as big as he looks on TV is as big as he looks on in real life. And I was just like, I think my reaction to meeting him is like we reached out to shake my hand. I shook his hand. I think I said, "Damn, you're tall," and I said, "Damn, you're big." He laughed. He's like, "That's uh." He said, "That's the first thing most people say to me when they first meet me." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Robert." And like, and he just laughed. It was that, but he's not. But I didn't care. I didn't care. And I think it was because if they were going to put him and Road Dogg back together, they should have just put him. They should have just broke up the Three Live Crew and made them together. Now they did give us LAX. LAX was a good tag. It was a good tag team. I'm not gonna lie, they were a good tag team. Um, especially when they got the right person to team with Homicide. I
yeah,
feel Hernandez was the best fit for that tag team. So, but either that or just should have just left Billy as a single star. I mean, that's one person I don't think got a decent singles run, and I think he would have been a great single star by himself. Was Billy Gunn?
okay.
I really do think that.
I
But
just got two more questions before I turn it. I shut it down.
no problem,
So
no problem.
I just gotta say, congrats to you and your friend. Y'all actually stuck it out. Y'all, realized both your dreams. Nobody dropped out. Y'all just kept at it as a tag team. And that's one thing I like to see people like stick to their dreams and thrive. Now, y'all remind me of another tag team like Kurt Hawkins. Well, what do you call them guys? Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, Brian
Mhm.
Meyer, Matt. They were similar to y'all as well. And then there were these. We actually had them. Well, not all three of them, but we had two out of three of them on our show. We had uh, Marek Brave, and oh, I forgot the guy's name. He's gonna kill me. But we had so Seth Rollins had two other friends in high school, Marek Brave,
Hmm.
and I forgot what the other guy's name is, and he is definitely going to. I feel bad now because I just had him on here, but he was on the show too. And hold on, I'll find it real quick. But Marek Brave was one of the friends that I believe, like I don't know if he went to high school with Seth Rollins, but he actually grew up with him. They both
Hmm.
started, and unfortunately, Marek Brave was pretty much like Seth's twin brother, like move Seth and everything. But
I think I've seen. I think I've seen some of their stuff when he was wrestling as Tyler Black, and they were wrestling up there in this Iowa area. I've seen some of their stuff together.
the Black and the Brave. And
Hmm.
okay, so the other guy's name was Shane Hollister. That's his name.
I've Shane Hollister is a guy that I would watch a lot of when I started training. I love watching Shane Hollister stuff.
Yeah. So Shane Hollister, Seth Rollins, and Marek Brave, they all grew up together. And I looked at these guys and the intensity they had in the ring, and I'm like, man, if I was Vince, I would have hired just all three. Forget the Shield with Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose; they would have been good by themselves. They
Mm-hmm.
could I would have just put Roman with his cousins and let them become a family stable. Dean Ambrose didn't need anybody anyways. I would just let him loose and be himself. But I would have definitely kept Shane, Seth, and Marek as as one stable because
Mm-hmm.
those guys were awesome. And I mean, I never saw. Shane said they did wrestle together as a team for one match, but I never got to. I can't find that match, but I'm
I,
pretty sure they meshed very well.
I
And
think that match was in AAW in Chicago. I think I've seen it before. I just
yeah,
can't. Well, I still do. I used to download a lot of wrestling
mhm,
from. I would buy a lot of wrestling DVDs and from off the websites and download them. And I can't remember exactly, but I think it might have been an AEW show in Chicago when that match happened.
yeah.
One of Seth's last AEW matches at that.
So my second to last question,
Mhm.
in regards to wrestling, who would you want to see yourself and your tag team partner wrestle in the near future? Oh, I almost forgot. Before you answer that, well,
Mhm.
you go ahead and answer, that, and then I'll ask you my other question.
Uh, well,
Like who's on like your top five you'd want? They could be from anywhere: AEW, WWE, Impact, the
uh,
Indies. Doesn't matter.
okay. Well, Shelly and Saban, that's number one.
Okay.
Our um, that's our biggest influence when it comes to our style of tag team wrestling. So Shelly and Saban will be number one. Number two would be the Bucks.
Okay.
Mm, My that's one of the tag teams my tag partner would love for us to showcase is them. Three I'd have to say would be Santana and Ortiz. They're a great tag team. A great tag team that I would love to work. Uh hmm. Indies, uh we just recently had a triple threat match with this tag team in it. So I would have to separate Indies. So and number one tag team in Indies would be the reality or the influencers. I think they call themselves the reality now. It's Patrick Scott and Chance Riser. Uh, Two more tag teams in off the Indies would be shoot, hmm. I just recently seen some of this stuff. Oh, there's two. I just can't remember the name. Well, our no, our biggest team in the Indies that we would want to face right now would be Patrick Scott and Chance Riser.
Okay. Well, I hope you get that chance to, wrestle against all those tag teams. And when I see it, I'll be like, yes, they actually did it. They actually finally, got to, you know, live out their goal. They finally reached their goals and got to wrestle all the tag teams that they want. Hey, I really wouldn't. I really hope to see y'all on, WWE or Impact or AEW one day. I'd be like, yo, they did it, man. The Riot City Kings are actually on TV getting that exposure. That's awesome. And speaking of good friends and close friends, you're also close to another popular wrestler. And I'm gonna play. I might start. I'm not trying to start no scandal or anything, but you and Big Swole, y'all are pretty close. And apparently, you were the one that introduced her to her now husband, WWE superstar Cedric Alexander.
Yeah, I get yeah. That so Swole. How I met Swole is before she had always been a wrestling fan from what we talked about. But how I met Swole was she used to be uh m- my store manager when I worked for GameStop,
Okay.
and I had got booked for this show. I had this tryout. I had a tryout match with Cedric at this promotion in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Mhm.
I did a pre-show match, and then after that, I was told, okay, we're gonna book you for the next show. Uh, the person I wrestled is now one half of the Ring of Honor World. It's one half of the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. So and at that time he was to me one of the biggest names to come out of North Carolina, and I was very stoked and stuff like that. But I had no way to get to this show at all. So I'm stressing, scrambling for almost a week trying to find out how I'm going to get to this show in Concord, North Carolina. So I worked with her one night, and she was like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "I'm stressed out. I got this big wrestling match coming up this Saturday. I got no way to get there. I ain't got no car, none of this, that, that, there." She was like, "Okay, well, I ain't got to work Saturday. If you want, I'll drive. I'll drive." I was like, "Oh, we can drive my car." I was like, "Oh, you cool? You sure?" I was like, "I mean, I can help with, you know." She's like, "Yes, no problem." So what she didn't realize then, because I think she's told this in some interviews on her own, is that I don't know how to drive stick shift. And if she would have known that, she wouldn't have brought her stick. She would have drove her other car. So she wound up driving all the way there and all the way back. But
Wow.
so we get there, we get to the show. I'm there talking to everybody and this, that, and the third. And she's sitting down because she's tired. And she hears this goofy voice, this goofy voice. And it's Cedric. And we're just talking this, that, and the third. She yells out my name. I was like, huh? I was like, so I go over there. She's like, who's that? Who's who? She's like, who's that? She gives this that who's that young this to them like who Cedric? Oh, that's nobody. This is my friend. She's like, oh, she said, tell him to come here. You could have just got up and walked over there, right? You didn't have to. This is the whole conversation with me and her. You could have just walked over there. You're grown. You're. Hold on, man. Okay, hold on. You could have just walked over there. I'm coming. Go. But you could have. I said you could have just got up yourself and walked over there. She was like, "No, tell him I said come here." I was like, so I call him over here to where she's at. I was like, Cedric. So I introduced Cedric, Ariel, Cedric, and you know how people like to flirt with people like in high school stuff. Like you might punch them in the arm and stuff like that, give them a big smile and things like. I got stuck in one of those situations, and they've been together ever since.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So you actually brought together one of wrestling's Well, one of my favorite couples. Um, you know, I've gotten to meet. I actually got to meet Big Swole. I think it was Juneteenth for the Black Wrestle Fest. Wish you could have been up here, man. And yeah, she told me that yeah, you were the one that actually introduced to them together. I was like, wow, that
Yeah,
you know.
the first the I was telling you earlier. I was able to meet Steve Carino when he lived in North Carolina and he was running a wrestling promotion in a school here.
Oh yeah, tell us
And
about that, man.
so I wound up going to this show and didn't even know she was there. I didn't even I went to the show because I knew Cedric was on the show. And
Hmm.
so I was going to this I went to the show just to see him because I ain't seen it's been a had been a while since I seen him. Didn't know that she was wrestling on the show too. And then until I walked in the building, I saw her, said hi to her and stuff like that. She comes out from hold on, man. She comes out and says, "You want to meet Steve Carino?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I want to meet Steve Carino." Steve Carino's at that time. Steve Carino was my favorite. Was my favorite person on commentary for Ring of Honor. So I was like, "Yeah, I want to be Steve Carino." So we go in the back, and at that time, she was introducing me people to me as her brother. And she was like, go back there. I see some of the people that I've seen. I was like, how you doing? So she introduced me to Karina. She's like, hi, Steve, this is my brother Robyn. He's the reason why me and Cedric are together. I was like, Ariel, you don't actually sit around and tell people that, do you? She was like, I tell anybody that asks me how I met Cedric that you're the reason why we're together. I was like, do you know that's like one of the most embarrassing things in the world? I get embarrassed about that. It's just because I wouldn't expect nobody. I wouldn't. That's nothing I would expect her to tell anybody. When you that's all the my thing. I wouldn't expect that, but
Yeah.
how I met Steve. First time I've ever met him, and
So
then
so when you introduced them together, was Swole already wrestling, or was she like just like
no, she had when I introduced them together. She had just got out of the military. She was
yeah,
just
she was in the Air Force.
Yeah, she had just when I met her, this was early in Cedric's wrestling career. Like this was 2011.
Mhm.
It was when and me and Ariel had been friends and working with each other for at GameStop for about maybe a year. And but she hadn't been wrestling. Then she was what a lot of people don't know, she's a not only is she a great professional wrestler, but she's a very accomplished dancer.
Okay.
So she was heavy. So before she got into wrestling, she was really heavy into to that.
Okay. Wow. But I gotta say, man, like Ari, you have two very talented friends. Cedric and Big Swole. I was I was actually I remember that on my personal Instagram account. I when I saw Big Swole on there,
Hold on.
I actually messaged Cedric and I was like, Cedric, I just saw your wife on the Mae Young Classic. I really hope they hire her because I wanted them to be together and that way they'd be on WB and that's and I'll say it, black love. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you see a black couple on there, that's goals. They up on top of the world getting that money. You know,
Yeah.
I really
Uh,
wish that would have happened. It probably could still happen. I mean, I think she's in my opinion, she's a great wrestler. So yeah, I mean, it could still happen. Vince could or Stephanie, whoever's in charge, can cut that check and hire her. And I'm hoping
yeah.
it happens. Because they could definitely use Big Swole right now, and she's a great wrestler, and also she's a veteran. And yeah, definitely hope it works out for her.
Oh
I
yeah,
would say
no doubt.
as a military vet myself, I did 7 years in the Navy. I I respect anybody that went through it. It's not easy. It's not always about physicality. It's also about mental as well too.
Excuse me. But yeah, you're right about that. One of the biggest, well, like both I can understand that because I'm a military brat. Both my parents were in. My mother and father were both in the army. My dad was a Desert Storm vet.
Right.
My sister, my older sister, is a Air Force vet. So yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah. So I just gotta say, man, Robyn, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on our show. We really appreciate. I'm not gonna hold you up. 'Cause I know your kid, is actually requiring your attention. I'm not trying to be that guy that's taking away out of family time. So I'm gonna just cut it right here. But I
All
just
right,
gotta
so
uh, I would normally ask you like what advice you give somebody that wants a 10-year career in professional wrestling, but like I said, I don't have a family myself, but I'm huge on family time. And
I can
uh,
give you I can give you a short answer to that.
if you could, I mean,
If you want a longevity in professional wrestling, just try to find what makes you stand out. Just stand out with everything you do.
well, I just gotta say thank you very much for taking time out to do this, and also 10 years. It's 10 years is actually a lot, to be in the game. I've seen people enter it and leave within a matter of a year, 2 years, maybe even a couple of months. But if nobody has told you this before, you're gonna hear it from me for the first time. And if people have told you before, I guess you can hear from me for the 10,000th time. Thank you for giving us all those matches and memories. Really appreciate it. And I hope you get to meet all your goals. And hopefully we get to see you on TV. And I'll be like, yo, we just had him on the show. That's I'll be like calling my two posts like, yo, check out, we just had this guy on the show. Check him out. But before I shut it down, where can fans find you on social media when they want to, find away next appearances, purchase Robyn Golphin or Riot King's merchandise, and
Um,
books up
well,
from as well.
you can find me on Instagram at hold on one second. I can't even remember my own Instagram sometimes. You can find me on Instagram at Radical BW Robin G at 87, or you can find my tag team on at Riot City King at Radical City Kings on Instagram. Facebook, same thing. Radical City Kings. Um, our next appearance will be August 6th in Kinston, North Carolina for Extreme Shock Wrestling. We'll be at the Alex Shane Smalls Rumble to Remember. We'll be defending our newly won ESW Tag Team titles in a triple threat match against the Hounds of Hades, who are the former tag team champions, and the current number one contenders, the Airtime Rockers.
Awesome. So y'all heard, if this guy's in your town, make sure you check out the show he's on. Support indie wrestling. It's always a great thing because you never know what future superstar you're gonna see in the making. So, he's on social media. Definitely give him a follow. And with that being said, it's about time to it's about time for us to shut this show down. My eyes are getting a bit heavy. My stomach is rumbling. That means it's time for dinner and a nap. Maybe not in that order, but before I indulge in those activities, if you want to find me on social media, not that I have anything cool to say, but who knows? Maybe you'll get lucky and hear me say something cool. You can find me on Twitter at the Remy Blue. You can also find me on Instagram at the Remy Blue as well, and Facebook under the alias Remy Blue. Feel free to add me there. I'm not that scary of a guy. You can find our podcast on social media on Twitter and Instagram at Ringside Society, Twitch at Ringside Society 2019, We're on Spotify and we're on Facebook as a Facebook group as well. Just type in Ringside Society, you'll find us. We're also on YouTube where you can find a lot of cool episodes like this one, like the one we had with Shane Hollister, Marek Brave, Katie Hebner, who's Earl Hebner's daughter, and several other interesting guests as well too. Make sure just all you gotta do is go on YouTube, type in Ringside Society. When you see that sweet dark blue and light blue yin yang sign with the blue flames around it, that's when you know it's us. So make sure you follow us and subscribe to all our videos because we got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and you don't want to miss a thing like Aerosmith in 1998. But with that being said, oh, one more thing. We also have a Teespring store where we sell official Ringside Society merchandise. We have t-shirts, we have hats, we have vests, we have all kinds of merchandise. When you go on there, check us out, cop some merch. All proceeds go back into keeping our show afloat. And with that being said, we just want to thank everybody that tuned in live tonight. Thank you very much. To those of y'all that are going to listen later on, thank you very much in advance. And those of y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really and truly wish we'd go away. Well, like myself at the Golden Corral, we're not going anywhere for a while. But with that being said, we here at Ringside Society are very well known and their grandparents and their parents of a podcast. But we're not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. We're the Wrestling Fans podcast, Ringside Society. Hashtag we are not the same. And with that being said, um, we will be back next year, not next year, next week actually, with another impressive guest, another impressive episode. But until then, we just want, myself and the boy wonder, Robyn Golphin, one half of the Radical City Kings, just want y'all to do four favors. That's right, just four. Stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.